I just now got out of the hospital. Last Monday, I had an old employee we let go on Friday come in. Now, this is not unusual, as people generally forgot things when they leave. I asked him what he was doing here. He said he needed to talk to me about what happened. This guy was let go for budget reasons. Simple as that. We cut 5 employees, and he unfortunately made the cut. I informed him that there was no real reason why he was let go. Just a business decision, and that we would have glowing letters of recommendation for him, will not interfere with unemployment, and will actually give good references for everyone who called. This point he claims it's bullshit and gets hostile. I try to calm him down, as does many other workers nearby. His friend tried to say he would take him to lunch and pay. Basically, everyone knew he needed to leave at this point. He seemed to calm down, but then pulled out a pocket knife and stabbed me in the stomach. I did not even realize I had been stabbed yet as I saw the knife and reacted. I grabbed his arm and held it firmly. The adrenaline was running through me so much I did not realize I had been stabbed yet until I saw the blood. I started to panic and punched him with my free hand in the jaw a few times. I guess one of them hit home as he dropped to the ground. I sat down on the ground, holding the knife in me, as I knew it was probably the only thing keeping me from bleeding out. The other workers that were there held him down until the police arrived. The ambulance took me and I went in for surgery. Today I receive a phone call that I do not have to return to work. I told my boss that I would be ready for light duty on Monday. He said that my health was not what he meant. One of the HR guys saw me punch the fired worker a few times and said that my face was like a vicious animal. Exact words. I told my boss that this was to be expected when fight or flight kicks in. He agreed with me and said that he wished he did not have to do this, but that everyone who got physical with the former employee will probably be let go pending a review by legal. This will make me lose my insurance. I am worried about continuing medical issues. The stab wound is still infected, but I have been given both pills and a cream for this. I am mainly worried about losing the job. Is there any kind of suit I can bring up if I am fired for this? I know you can sue someone for anything you want. I am asking about suits that would have a reasonable chance of winning given a good lawyer. Also, is it legal for my job to fire me and the guys who helped over this? The guy was only out for maybe half a minute, so he was still a danger. It took the police 12 minutes to show up. Hello, the ambulance was forced to wait outside for 5 minutes until the police showed up to secure the situation. This guy had plenty of time to harm other people. How can a job just up and fire everyone like this? I'm guessing yes, because Texas. But is this even legal? Update. So before I give the update, I wanted to say a few things. First, I am not some jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, Krav Maga, or Patrick Swayze Roadhouse-style bar bouncer. I am not a veteran who obtained my sick martial arts skills in the streets of Mosul. What happened was simply adrenaline and a decent amount of martial arts training I received when I was a kid kicking in. Although I do occasionally work out at the gym at my work, so I am stronger than your average network admin. Also, for those calling bullshit in the PMs saying that a punch to the jaw will not knock you out, well, I have a small lesson. A well-placed punch to the jaw can cause minor to major brain trauma, as the act of your brain shaking about in your head can overload the nervous system, making you lose consciousness. Your muscles instantly relax, and you fall to the ground with no memory of the last few seconds. In other words, go watch some UFC. Second, to the people in the thread and in my PMs, I did not punch him in retaliation for stabbing me. His knife was still inside me, and his hand was on the knife when I punched him in pure fear. More like 100% pure terror. So on to the update. The company I worked for is a wholly owned subsidiary. This will be important later. The CEO of my company was unwilling to hear my side of it, no matter how many times I tried to approach him. The best response I got was when his secretary gave me the line of trusting the decisions of HR. Several emails and 2 phone calls got the same response from him and his assistant each and every time. Because of the fact that no one at the office is willing to even hear my side, I decided to go to a lawyer that was recommended through a friend. Friend contacted a lawyer he used in the past who referred me to someone he trusts. Upon hearing my story, the lawyer was very eager to take my case on contingency. As an added bonus, he decided to represent the other 3 guys who helped out that day as well. The lawyer decided to name the parent company in the suit alongside our former employer. His reasoning is that the parent company would have reviewed all corporate policies that the subsidiary has, and that they would have had final say on the policies and procedure. This would have inevitably included the zero-tolerance workplace violence clause that caused us to be terminated. Well, the parent company, a company with many public contracts for city and state police in the area I might add, was not too happy to hear about what had happened. The event was apparently downplayed when it was reported to the parent company. They told the parent company something along the lines of, a scuffle broke out in the office. As a result, one of the employees was seriously injured. All employees involved will be terminated and law enforcement are handling the criminal aspect. Paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. Upon hearing about the truth of the matter, they were very quick to set up a meeting with us. This is a company that is in the self-defense and security business, not to be confused with people in the firearm business. They do not sell firearms, but do provide armor, non-lethal options, and have security subsidiaries for police, security firms, and private citizens. Given the nature of their business, they know full well the damage that negative press could do if word got out that one of their subsidiaries fired a guy who fought for his life. This was the PR nightmare that gave us the edge in the negotiations. The subsidiary I worked for is not in the self-defense business. They are a security monitoring firm that only handles corporate contracts, so they were not worried about that kind of press like the parent company was. Upon hearing the full details of what went down that day, the parent company went into panic mode. The 3 guys who held down my attacker won't be getting their old jobs back, but they were offered jobs doing the same thing at parent company's facility 12 miles away. They will also be compensated for lost wages at time and a half their normal pay rate for the time they were out of work. Parent company pretty much directed our old company to comply with this offer, and our old company cut them a check. Since parent company has better benefits and better pay, this was a slam-dunk victory for those 3. Cherry on top for them is this means a closer drive for all of them. This offer was contingent on the 3 guys not going after either company for monetary compensation outside of what was offered, and the signing of a non-disclosure agreement. With the NDA and a signed contract guaranteeing employment for at least a year, barring obvious reason to fire people, it would have been stupid of them not to take it. For me, it was a little more complicated. They are very willing to offer me the same thing, but there are complications from infections that occurred from the stabbing as I developed MRSA in the wound. Fortunately, it remains localized in my wound and has not spread to my bloodstream. However, if it progresses any worse than it currently is, my doctor thinks it may be prudent to cut out the infection. It is being watched very carefully, and I spend probably 2 days out of the week in the hospital having the wound drained. In the meantime, I have been offered the job, plus the ability to be paid while I work from home. This would allow me to get on their excellent coverage plan. They only have a $1,000 deductible for single person. My lawyer basically told me that this was the best possible deal I could get without going to trial. He explained that the parent company can take the hit on the publicity and survive, but that since all they have to do is offer me a job and get the old company to pay me for the time I was out of work, why not? Minor expense to them, and they do not have to worry about bad publicity. I took the deal they offered and signed a non-disclosure agreement. As for the guy who stabbed me, I was very pissed off to learn he was offered a plea deal. His charges were reduced from attempted murder to aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Since he was a model citizen before his knife-wielding episode, and since this was a crime of passion, he was offered a mere 1 year in prison and a year of probation, plus a $10,000 fine. I am told that there is the possibility that he can have his record expunged and that he can be out in as little as 6 months. I know that he has not appeared before the judge yet to take this plea deal. They were waiting to see if I would die, as the charge would obviously change from AGG assault to murder 2. Once they found out that I was stable and that the MRSA was not life-threatening, they set a court date for the 12th. I will be there. Because of the fact that a lawsuit against him right now would be a lawsuit against his wife and child, I decided not to do anything on that front. Going after him would be a cash grab and would only hurt 2 people who had nothing to do with what happened that day. So I see no reason to sue him. Also, before it is asked, yes, I am taking extreme measures to deal with my MRSA. I have paid a company to come in and clean my house 4 times so far. I am taking my medications on time every time, and I am following doctor instructions for cleaning and replacing bandages. It is getting better, but my doctor thinks I will be dealing with this all the way until after Valentine's Day. Story 2. Eta for breaking a promise and attending my stepdaughter's graduation? I'll start by explaining some backstory. I, 54M, lost my first wife when my son, 25M, and daughter, 22F, were ages 9 and 12. Both my kids took it as hard as you would expect, and to this day have a poor relationship with both my current wife, Doreen, 49F, and my stepdaughter, Amy, 18F. I started dating Doreen about 4 months after my first wife passed. As such, my kids believe I cheated on their mom. Amy was 5 when we got together, and as such, I see her as my own daughter. On to the actual story. 4 years ago, 2 days before Kay's high school graduation, Amy got very ill while visiting her grandparents and ended up needing emergency surgery. My wife and I rushed to be with Amy, and admittedly, I did not communicate well with Kay. At the time, Kay didn't pick up my calls, so I left her a voicemail and several text messages explaining what happened and telling Kay I was sorry, but I would make it up to her. A few hours go by, and I get a call from Kay. She is in hysterics telling me what a terrible father I am, and stated that if I did not attend her graduation, I would be dead to her. I chose to support Amy. True to her words, Kay did not contact me on the day of her graduation. And when came home, Kay's things had been moved out of the house with a note explaining that we were no longer family and to never contact her again. Luckily, Kay and I were able to reconcile. However, I promised her I would give her absolutely anything in the world to make her forgive me. She said that she would forgive me as long as I refused to attend Amy's graduation, as this was the only way to make it fair. I agreed at the time, thinking she was just joking or angry and would soon forget. This leads me to now. Invitations for Amy's graduation went out, and despite all the hostility, Amy wanted to make sure Kay got one. Kay called Amy later that day and said she would be unable to attend as she and I would be spending the day together per our agreement. Amy broke down into tears, asking me why I was missing her graduation. I assured her I was not, and that I would speak to Kay. Later I explained to Kay that I simply could not miss Amy's graduation. Kay launched into a tirade about how I was a liar and an asshole, and how could I do this to her again. I told her that we would talk when she calmed down, and she said we would never talk again. My son and several of our extended family have all taken Kay's side, saying I didn't see how hurt she was at graduation. My wife believes I am the asshole for even promising that in the first place, as I should have known, it would only upset one or both girls. And Amy is just sad and confused, wondering why Kay hates her. I know keeping my promise and not attending Amy's graduation is probably the only way to salvage my relationship with Kay. But no matter how I look at it, I would feel like I'm punishing Amy for having a medical issue. So am I the asshole? Edit to add some relevant info. I never cheated on my first wife. Your accusations are honestly tiring and disgusting. Amy's bio father was never in her life. I am not Amy's biological father. That wasn't ever even in question, as we are not the same race. Amy had appendicitis. She was staying over 4 hours away at her grandparents' house. At the time that we left, the only info Doreen's mother would give us was she passed out and wouldn't wake up. My daughter was moved out of our house for about a month and a half, after which we made up, and she returned to live with us for another 2 years before going away to school. I did not believe Kay when she said she wanted me to miss Amy's graduation, as it seemed like a ridiculous request. Despite what you all may believe, our relationship was fine after this event. We were in near daily contact, and she would frequently visit us. Update. I wasn't sure if I wanted to post an update after the reaction I got last time. I can stomach death threats against myself, but directing such hatred toward my children was truly disturbing. But the graduation has come and gone, and I thought I should share how it all went down. I'm sure most of you will be displeased. Amy was mad at me for a few days, but we have a strong bond, and she quickly got over it. The saint that she is said she would understand if I wanted to miss it to make it up to Kay. I told her I wouldn't do that to her, and reassured her that she has done nothing wrong. As for the elephant in the room, Kay, she and my son live in the same city and work in the same field, so they're as close as ever. My son and his partner were giving her a lot of emotional support at this time. In the end, she decided not to attend Amy's graduation, but sent flowers and a card with my son. There were a lot of nasty messages directed toward her, which I feel is completely unacceptable. She isn't mean or vindictive. She is a smart, very kind, very empathetic woman. She made a bizarre ultimatum as a confused and hurt teenager. I certainly don't think that makes her a bad person. I know all of you seem to think I hate my children, but the amount of pain I feel at the deterioration of my relationship with my daughter is unexplainable. I've been on and off antidepressants since the death of my wife, and at my therapist's suggestion, will be going back on them. It's taking all of my willpower not to reach out to her again, but I've already disrespected her wishes enough. She can choose to reach out to me when and if she ever wants to again, and I'll be waiting. I know it's not the most impactful update, and I'm sure most of you wanted to see me left miserable and alone, but I don't live my life for anyone else's entertainment. I can accept that I'm the asshole. Maybe I'm an asshole in general, but I'm not some evil monster that you all want me to be. I'm a man that made the mistake of sharing his problems with the internet, a mistake I won't be making again. I probably won't delete this account, but I'm not going to be updating in the future. Goodbye.